Okay, to be completely honest, the camera is tilted because my camera stand is very broken because I lent it out for a production and they broke it, and there's only so much super glue can do, so it's tilted. Also, to be transparent with you, this is the table that's from my dining room. I carried it in here because I didn't actually have a space. It wasn't tucked into a corner that I could use, so welcome to my makeshift baking area. So today is the 1st of October 2022, and as some of you may or may not know, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes on this date in 2009, making today my 13-year Diaversary. So what is a Diaversary? It is essentially the day we celebrate how long we've had diabetes for. I know celebrate is a really weird word, but I like to think of it as I've lived this long with this condition and it hasn't taken me out yet, so I'm going to enjoy it. And in the scheme of enjoying it, I have decided, like every year, I'm going to have cake because the condition is crap enough without feeling like I can't have a bit of cake. I usually buy my cake, but I thought for some reason this year I want to make my own cake. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make a sponge cake. I'm in my new place, like my new flat, and I haven't used the oven yet, so we'll see how that works out. So I have my recipe. I found it on BBC Good Foods. It's to make 2 circular cakes, but I just want to make one a loaf tin size, so I'm just gonna half the recipe, and if I want more I can always like remake it. It's not as if I have a scarcity of ingredients. Okay, so we are going to weigh things out. Oh, a whisk. Do I have a whisk? That's annoying. Okay, slight snag already. I used to have a whisk. I'm pretty sure I brought it with me. I do not. And it's pelting it down with rain out there, so I'm not going to go out and get one. So we're going to whisk it with a fork. Beating butter and sugar together till fluffy is going to be fun. Okay, so we're going for 112.5 grams. So I'm going to go for 113 because I don't think this does 0.5s. I have washed my hands, I do promise. I think a lot of this video is just going to be me talking to myself because obviously you can't reply to me right now. I do already have a video up here about my diagnosis story, link here, but it's always weird to think back on your life, especially when you were diagnosed quite young but still old. Yeah, still old. Still old enough to know what life without a medical condition was like, because like I didn't just go into hospital and oh, perfect. I mean, like, I went into hospital just thinking I had a rash, and then I came away with a medical condition. And at the time, like, I was very much a proactive like child when I was diagnosed. Like, I'm not going to rehash the like diagnosis story part of it, but when I was in hospital, I was very much, but like once I was diagnosed, I was very proactive with doing my injections myself, with looking after my life, because like it's going to be my life, and
even as a young child, I was fiercely independent. That was too much sugar. That's a problem for me to clean up later. But I was fiercely independent and didn't want to have someone coming in and giving me my injections for me, because like, if I want an injection, I want to get it over with. I didn't want to have to wait for someone to come and like get a needle, and like, I didn't want to feel like I was inconveniencing someone with my condition as well. So that's how I got like really good at just looking after it myself, was because I had to. But having it for 13 years has both been a joy and a struggle at times. Because when I was diagnosed, I was meant to go on a Paris trip with my year group. And it's a rite of passage, like first years go to Paris and you make friends, and they're the basis of what you make. You make your friends there, and those memories carry you through for the rest of your years at that school. And ultimately, I had to make the decision not to go because I was newly diagnosed and I did not feel confident enough in being able to look after myself to feel safe going. So with support of my mother, and honestly my mother, if I was still insistent on going, my mother would have said no anyway. But it was the very first sign that I had to grow up a lot faster was the fact that I said no myself because I did not feel comfortable. But it was still something, like a part of my school I missed out on because I didn't get those same bonding memories. And when people say, hey, do you remember when this happened on the Paris trip? I was like, no, I don't, because I wasn't there. So growing up, obviously, I'm not going to like make this like a sad video or whatever, but like, because I was known as like the diabetes girl, and like I was so much advocating for diabetes and trying to like, and like going on like diabetic camp and going to like diabetes walks and fundraising, it became very easy that diabetes was a large part of my personality. And I did see that, because how could I not be so overwhelmed with my condition when it was something I dealt with every day, and still is something I deal with every day. Like, I can't put it into a box and put it to the side, deal with later. I have to deal with it at every time of every day. So, flash forward quite a few years. When I was in university, in my final year, I was a simulated patient for drama, health and social care. It was fun. We got to be simulated patients for doctors, and there was one that was there was a simulation that I was in, and it was about a young female diabetic in ketoacidosis who has, and I'm going to, warning here, they had suicidal thoughts, and there's like more into the simulation. But the key point is, I thought, oh, I can relate to like all of this. I've felt all of this at one point in my life. And the thing is with diabetes is that the mental health side of it isn't discussed a lot, because hey, it's just a medical condition, it's just injecting, right? But there's also like a whole aspect of burnout, and you have all these decisions, and it's a life-saving drug, but if you take too little it could kill you, if you take too much it could kill you. There's a lot of decisions that happen in your life. So I realized I wasn't entirely okay in the simulation, and by that I mean I broke down crying during the simulation and then was in a funk for like 2 days. But anyway, after that, I like had the talk with my mother, got on the same page. Maybe not entirely the same page, because like, bless her, she's an amazing mother, but also she doesn't understand what it's like to have diabetes. And soon after that, Diabetes UK, and well, the entirety of the UK, Diabetes UK at that point, not just in Northern Ireland, was launching a program called It's Missing, to tackle the kind of mental health side and trying to get more provision for mental health and diabetes. I saw it advertised that they were looking for someone to like share their experiences, and seeing as I had recently had my wobble, I signed up to talk for it, and I was there to give like media interviews, and I spoke in Stormont when it launched. And after that, I was approached by a man called Carl and asked, do I want to join a project called Our Lives, Our Voices? You've heard me talk about Our Lives, Our Voices before. Of course I accepted. I'm still technically part of it, even though I'm in Wales. I'm just more like a in the background role at the moment, while I'm over here. But then like soon after that, like a pandemic hit, and I moved back home from Belfast to live with my family for a while. And because and this is where the point I was making comes in, because I was in such like close proximity with my family all the time, and because like they saw me 24/7, it seemed like, because I was getting very involved in the project work and it was like happening, a lot of it was happening online, we were doing the This Is Type 1 film, all that, it seemed like I was becoming very, very obsessed with my condition. And I grant, it may look like that, but I had a community that I was part of that I like really enjoyed. And that's the thing, is like, don't tell a diabetic ever that they're obsessed with their conditions. Maybe they are. It's not something for you to comment on. That's their condition. But I could get it, and at the same time, like, because I realised I wasn't okay, I was actually getting therapy. Because I've also done the video of the night that I ended up in A&E with a blood sugar that would not come up. That left me with a lot of hypo-anxiety, where I couldn't fall asleep without checking my blood sugar like 5 times, and then blood checking it and doing it again. Then I'd try and fall asleep, and then I need to do the whole system again, because I was terrified of going to sleep and having a low blood sugar and not waking up from it. I was terrified, because it almost happened. Like, I had to have my glycogen injection for the first time in my life, and that terrified me. So I got therapy, and like, I was always like really open with my condition, but this is the one aspect I haven't been open on, is like the fact that I have therapy for it, and that's not something to be ashamed of. For ages I thought, no, I can't get therapy for my diabetes, it's not something that I need therapy for, but it's a thing that impacts all aspects of your life, not just the fact that you now need to inject. So at that point, like, mother, very supportive, was like, if you need to go to therapy, go for it, I support you. I'm lucky that I had a very supportive mother, and family that didn't make me feel bad that I wanted therapy. And for all that, like, maybe they don't understand, because there is a layer of understanding that you get by having a condition that you just don't get by like not having it. And my mum has better understanding than most, because she lives with me, and like, I have the diabetes, but and she's a nurse, so she gets an even better understanding sometimes. But I get a bit more of an understanding because I live it, I have it. And that's not to downplay the experiences of anyone who has a loved one with diabetes or anything. It's just what I and other people in the community have discovered, just because we live it. But yeah, I had a very supportive mother who was like, go for it. And she accepted that sometimes I just didn't want to talk about the sessions I had, because they were my sessions. I had a couple of therapy sessions. I feel a lot better. I don't need to like, I now don't need to do like 20 checks of my blood sugar before I go to bed. I just need to do like 2, which better than it was. And my overall point is, 1, mental health and diabetes isn't talked about enough because it is a thing, and sometimes people need help, and that's not something to be ashamed about. But also, it may seem like people with diabetes are obsessed with their condition, and maybe we are, maybe, but like, it's understandable when it's something that impacts every aspect. Welcome to my TED Talk. Okay, so turns out the camera stopped recording at some point. I don't know when. I was too busy making cake. But yeah, there is this whole, like, not myth, there's this whole attitude that because you're diabetic, you can't have nice things. More specifically, you can't have sugary things. And to that, I would like to say nonsense. Diabetes has come along, so maybe in the day, like the olden days, you did have to eat more, like be a bit more aware of what you eat, because the thing is, diabetes treatments have changed over the years. Even when I first started being diagnosed, if it was a hobby, even when I was first diagnosed, I was on 2 injections a day, one in morning, one at dinner time, that kind of thing, and my nighttime one. But it's evolved so much that now you can have people do a lot of carb counting, and some people do manage their diabetes different. And the one thing to take away is, if you meet one diabetic, you have met one diabetic. We may have similarities, but we all look after our condition differently. Some people may eat a low carb diet, some people may completely swear off sweets entirely. You do you. I obviously do not. I try and eat in moderation, which is like everybody. Everyone in life has to eat things in moderation, and I don't see any reason why I can't be the same as everyone else, because the only thing that's different for me is that my pancreas does not work in the same way that theirs does. So yeah, in 13 years has been a journey. It's definitely been a journey. I decided to move to a different part of the country by myself, which I then found out I do actually have a cousin over here, and I didn't realize she was my cousin because I knew her from school, and it turns out she's my cousin. The fun of being from Northern Ireland. But I was always terrified to leave Northern Ireland, because that would mean I'm away from my support system, I'm away from where I'm used to getting my prescriptions, where I'm used to being with people that know what I'm like, and know what my condition is like, and know me. And I did it. I moved away. And is it terrifying? Yes. Have I had some issues with healthcare over here? Yeah. But I'm happy I did it. I'm really having fun, because the one thing I've learned in life is when everyone has the whole mentality of like, it could be worse. I mean, I could be dead, so that is what I celebrate, is that I'm not. And one slice or an entire cake won't kill me if I take the insulin to cover it. Unless I somehow poison this cake, I can eat it. So, the good question is, why am I making this video in the first place? Why couldn't I have just made the cake without anyone knowing and just eaten it? And, good question. Because when I was growing up, I wish I had more people with diabetes showing me that you could do whatever the hell you liked with it. That you could have fun, that you could eat the cake. And I was lucky that I had my mother telling me I could do all those things. and I was lucky in that way that I went to diabetic camp and I met other diabetics and I had those in-person role models. But I didn't have like online role models. And I'm not saying I'm a role model, not at all. But if I want to add to the media that tells people that it's okay to have the cake if you want it in the most basic of ways, or that it's okay to not be perfect with your blood sugars, or that it's okay to have a bad day with it as long as it doesn't become your entire days, then that's what I'm doing. If nothing else, it's because it's fun to make cake, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to see if it turns out to be a disaster and then I have it on camera, because my mother asked me last night when I was on a video call with the family, when I told her I was going to make cake for today, she's like, when's the last time you made cake and was it successful? She has such faith in my baking skills. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go downstairs now, because I don't have an oven up here. This is just more, it has a microwave and a sink and a mini fridge. That's it, because the flat's split in 2 levels. So the oven's downstairs, so I'm going to go downstairs and put this in the oven. As I said before, never baked with this oven, so we'll see. And I'm also not going to bring the camera down with me to watch me put in the oven, because it's literally me opening and closing a door. And also, it's a bit of a mess down there. I don't want to put that on the internet. So I will see you in 25 to 30 minutes. Or 40, depends how much I remember about it. By the way, that's the cake before it goes in the oven. Okay, full disclosure, it has been more than 40 minutes because I realised I had to run and grab my prescription because I need that to continue having more Diaversaries. But here's the cake out of the oven. Looks like it came out pretty well. So I'm going to make some buttercream and then we're going to decorate. Okay, so we're breaking out this big massive bowl because it's the only bowl I have. So we're going to make a tiny amount of buttercream in this massive bowl. We work with what we got here. So I get 150 grams of butter. Also, before anyone comes at me for like putting a fork into the butter, I'm the only one who uses this butter. I mean, I halved this, but it seems like it's gonna be a lot. 300 grams of ice. And then I'm just gonna add some vanilla flavoring. That was definitely more than I needed. Okay, so this next bit's just gonna be me like whisking for an ungodly amount of time until it's combined. So I'm just gonna like speed that up and see you when I'm decorating the rest of the cake. Sound good? Okay, so we're gonna decorate. I don't know why I'm so excited. It's cooled down enough. It's a very small cake. It's for me, so makes sense. I have already nibbled at it already, so I know this cake itself tastes good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut it down the middle so I can make a tier. Is it going to be straight cut? Absolutely not. It's me we're talking about. There! It's cut. It's uneven. It's delicious. So, oh god, how do I do this? I'm going to do jam first on one side, and then buttercream on this side, and then flip it over. And then we have sprinkles, rainbow sprinkles, because why the heck not? Okay, we're gonna be tactical about this. And by tactical I mean like you're going everywhere and just putting them in my hand first so they don't go all over the floor. Oh my god, this is so cute. So, 13 years living with diabetes. And what have I learned? What's the biggest takeaway? I've learned I'm pretty self-sufficient. I'm pretty independent. I mean, I'm still alive and kicking. I will continue to have more Diaversaries, and I will continue to celebrate every single one of them. Diabetes is not easy, and whoever tells you that is lying. They don't know what it is like to have diabetes. But I like to keep a positive attitude. That's how I was raised, it's how I've always been. That isn't to say that sometimes it isn't really tough, and there's some days where I really hate diabetes, and sometimes I really struggle, and sometimes I have really tough days. But they are, at least for me, few and far between, because I am so lucky to have such an important network around me. Diabetes can be incredibly tough. You have to grow up a lot faster, and there's so many stereotypes that people try and put on top of you because that's what they know. But anytime I'm met with those stereotypes, I like to educate. Because yeah, I could be annoyed about it, and I frequently am. But so yeah, diabetes is rubbish sometimes. And people, they say that you shouldn't have treats. But as I've said before, like anyone, you can enjoy it, as long as it's in moderation. You can have a slice or two of cake. Because at the end of the day, life's too short, diabetes is crap, and you are still alive and kicking, so eat the damn cake. Am I sure I don't have a whisk? I have a big knife. It doesn't help me right now, but I have a big knife. I mean, a non-stabby. I don't want to include any of this actually. Do I want to include any of this? Okay, I'm including it.